Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. We're not on the trail today. We're doing a gear review, and it's a gear review I'm more than happy to do today because it is the Montane. Now I'm going to pronounce it Naukan. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's his name on the side there. The Montane Naukan. I'll put it there so you can see it. It's a 60 litre backpack. What happened was, obviously I've started with the Kelty 90 litres, which I'll put a picture up now. That was kind of my first, what can I say, backpacking overnighter bag that I wanted to use. I saw it on Adventure Archives, one of the walkers there had it. So I went on eBay and managed to find one and thought, oh, this is great, 90 litres, I can fill it full of kit. And I find with hiking, as you may know guys, it's a learning curve. And I soon found out that the bag itself weighs 2 kilos. So before you even started adding your kit, you're already down 2 kilos to your base weight. So I've done a few overnighters, never really had a problem. That was until I recently did the Gritstone Trail. And on that trip, I really did get put to the test by the weight of my pack. And in the video you'll see that by the end of it I'm kind of cursing the pack and wanting to strip it and kind of shed a lot of excess weight. Now there were obviously some items like a chair and different things like that that you can get rid of. But then I wanted to take it a step further and really kind of shred the weight and see how low I could get it. Which would then hopefully give me the ability to push myself a little bit further, get longer mileage, but not compromise on any of the backpacking things that I love. So first things first I came to was the Montane Naukan. It was on sale, which is always going to catch my eye when an expensive piece of kit gets reduced. And my general rule with expensive pieces of kit is it does need to be on the sale. It is too expensive. So as you can tell, it's designed with ultralight in mind. This is very thin fabric, and I'll tell you exactly what it is. I've got the deets up here. It's Raptor Diamond 70 denier main fabric, UHM WPE fibres. Means absolutely nothing to me, it might mean something to you. And it's a Raptor Crosslight 70 denier fabric. Must be a mix of fabrics. Open mesh panel, air mesh plus on harness, and halo lining. I mean, it sounds really technical, but I have no idea what it means. But yeah, for you gearheads, I guess it may mean something. It does have, you can see, an aluminium frame. And what I did notice when I used this on the way away, I was still in my mindset of the big pack, which I obviously, when I wear it, I allow it to sort of fall back away from me so it sits vertical, and adjust these upper straps to then get everything where I want it before I set off on the trail. Not so with this pack. If you can see a definite fixed solid curve there, and what really, in order to get it comfortable, it needs to be cinched up against your body. Otherwise it'll do what it did to me. It'll just be doing that all day. So once I'd cinched it up with its breathable mesh on the back, it got really comfy. There's a sort of height adjuster there. There's not a lot of give in it. I'm 6'1", and there was plenty of body length to kind of follow the contour of my back. Now, what you need to understand is it is obviously designed with ultralight backpacking in mind. So we're not going to get any of the features that you'd see on a bigger pack. And things have obviously been cost cut, and obviously, I'm going to say obviously a lot. That's today's word, obviously. And so areas where they've been able to reduce fabric to reduce the weight. This pack only weighs 900 grams, which is fantastic. You can see that where you get a 1-inch nylon strap, you now have, I mean, that's not even, I wouldn't even say it's half an inch. So all the webbing and the strapping has been reduced in width. The buckles have been reduced in size. So they're all teeny tiny. The thickness of the paddings on the shoulders, reduced. And we've got this little mesh bit here. Your hip belt, this didn't really come into use because the pack, when I wore it for the way away, was only 12 kilos. And by the time you get to 12 kilos or less, there is no need to put this on your hips. But again, the amount of fabric's been reduced and the thickness of it. Going to the front, again, thin straps, thin buckles, and you can feel the fabric's very thin. I wouldn't want to go up against a barbed wire fence or really aggressive thorns with this kind of fabric. Inside the pack, I left my flip-flops in. Ooh. They might go on the next trip, I didn't even use them. You've got a solid back wall in there, but I know it's not really helpful to see. You've got the drawstring opening, and it has a weird shape to it. It narrows at the bottom, claims to be this V narrow, but it's actually narrower at the bottom and it widens out towards the top, which I found odd. So I put my sleeping bag right down at the bottom and my 2 compression sacks with my tent on top as the bag widened. Massive, these are great. I wasn't really, I thought I got a hole in it then. At first I wasn't really sold on these 2 big flaps, sort of pockets at the front. They're really good actually. I had a lot of my gear in there. You know, my power bank, my wash bag and things. It all went in there really well. It was really accessible, which I don't normally get with a backpack. So I was really happy with that. On the sides you've got these little stretchy stuff pockets, and if you don't have anything sort of hanging out like my bivvy that I lost, my cheap bivvy, these are great as well. You can access these while you're walking. So I had my little water bottle in one side. I had my cook pot in there. That was really good. So there's 2 of them, one on either side. Oh, it's still there. My little baby bottle, that fits in there. And I also have in there. There's my, again, that's another one can go, didn't use it. Microfiber towel. And that's it. The brain box, the brain pan is this thing on the top. I'll get to that in a minute. It just has one zip. And again, you've got your opening at the top. Not a great amount of room, obviously. Ultralight, we're thinking ultralight, so minimalists. There's a little Velcro tab for your water bladder. Not quite sure I want my water bladder in there with all my gear. I do like it in a separate pocket, but that's just me. So, when I did the wire away, my backpack loadout I was absolutely impressed with. I stripped all my kit down. There are plenty of videos out there with some great bits of advice on how to reduce pack weight. And so I took all that advice. Things like removing stuff sacks, getting rid of packaging, deciding really ruthlessly what you're actually going to use and what you're not going to use. So down to even my first aid kit, there were like bandages and stuff in there, gone. Stuff that you're never going to need, and if you do need them, something's gone epically wrong with your trip. And so I managed to go from 21 kilos, which was my pack weight on the Gritstone Trail, that's with food and water. I managed to drop it down to 12. Amazing. Yeah, I wasn't carrying as much water, that wasn't a problem. I planned that based on the trail. If I knew the trail was around sort of rural, urban areas, nothing to worry about, you can resupply as you go. I do also carry a water filter, which I use a lot. So I was able to reduce it. The only problem I had here was real estate. Actually physically fitting everything in. My tent compressed down really well using 2 stuffed sacks. You can buy them off Amazon very cheap. So that really just crushed them down to a manageable physical size in here. I'm not talking weight, I'm talking physical size. The only issue I had was the physical size of my sleeping bag. It would not compress any further down than this kind of large cylinder. I might try and get another stuffed sack off Amazon, see if I can just compress that. I did ask a chap on Instagram where he managed to get a compressed one that really worked. It was really small, but was a really warm sleeping bag. But that was expensive. Not decided on that yet. So physical real estate, obviously you've got to plan ahead. The things you want to put in there, you've got to get the size down, compress them down if you can with a compression sack. That's one thing I need to do with my spare clothing. Spare clothing I didn't take a lot of. I always take my socks though. Anyway, that's by the by, that's a separate issue. So the negatives, these are all the positives. I really do like this bag. I will be using it from now on for multi-day hikes. I've got a couple of negatives. My first one is, even though it's a 60 litre, did I say 60 litres? By the time you've filled it to the top, and you've got this drawstring, a very odd drawstring toggle thing. Drawstrings are never an issue with a sliding clip, but they have this thing where you kind of have to pull both, and it locks the drawstring in place. I think that's unnecessary. It's faff. It makes a simple thing a two-handed It's normally a one-handed action to open and close, is now two. Irrelevant anyway. By the time you get to the top and you put your stuff in here, when you pull the brain over the top and want to close it, you've got these very odd little buckles. These straps are not long enough if you've filled it to the top to pull that shut. That's the first thing I found. So you have to have less up here to sort of reduce the size, the amount of gear you've got there, just so you can pull these down to lock them in. These could have done to have been maybe 2 inches longer, just to allow for that to comfortably come over the top and shut the top. And then my second negative is the clips themselves. These are, I mean, there's cost cutting on weight cutting and all that, but these tiny little things look like they're about to break. You lock in like that and you squeeze the sides to open them. They work, I've not had an issue, but they're a bit faffy. I don't do faff. Another issue is these obviously are reduced fabric, reduced amount of fabric, reduced weight, and for 3 days, for the first 2 days it was comfortable. By the third day these are kind of starting to rub because it's sweaty and hot underneath, and I started to get a little bit of rubbing on my inner shoulder, and that's with a 12 kilo. So something to bear in mind. You're not quite going to get the comfort, obviously. Even I get bored of listening to that word. You're not going to get the comfort that you would do with a much bigger pack, which can slap a lot more fabric on there. But none of those things put me off it. It just seems really well built. Times when I thought the fabric might give up. Alright. And then you've got this pole. Your poles go down the middle. I didn't use them. Again, kind of moved away from using the poles. And then when you've done the front pockets, there's cinch straps there, and then more cinch straps across the top, just to pull everything in nice and tight. Really enjoyed using it on the Wireway. If you want to see it in action, I will put some, there's obviously been some little clips of me using it. If you want to see it in a bit more detail, the Wireway videos are where I've used it the most. Right, that's enough of that. That's all I've got to say. Montane Naukan, weighs less than 900 grams. Really well made, really well built. Apart from a couple of issues I've had, I will be using this from now on. And it does seem to be the future. Lightweight backpacking. Right guys, hope you've got out this weekend. Hope you've had a great weekend. And I will see you next time back on the trail.